Okay, there
What
we
just
go.
happened?
I clicked the wrong thing to do presenting, so
Oh, okay.
yeah. So salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where social outcasts, crazy riddles, and all around nerds convene, talk, and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, everyone.
And I am your host, last time on Wannabe, the brainstorm pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing okay.
So, yeah, hey, Dragon Turtle. Wow, you are here exceptionally early.
Yeah,
Respect.
you
Um,
you were on
also,
time. Huzzah.
yeah, also completely understand that if you've been here for any of the times, I've had internet problems while streaming. Totally get it. Uh,
Which happens a lot.
Shut up. So yeah, you're good. You're good, man. I'm doing pretty well. Just been busy and stuff and chilling, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah. So don't pretty much send all the
Mhm.
articles.
Mhm.
Um,
This was a very easy week to do. We didn't have to do much hunting.
you didn't have to do much hunting. To be fair, I always try to find the videos and stuff that we watch.
Mhm.
Granted, we had some stuff that it's been saved for a while, so all
Yeah.
right. So this is from Cosmic Book News, which we have not covered in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah. Granted, these guys actually do legit reporting and not rage bait articles. So
For the most part, anyway. Yeah. Moving on.
to be fair, as far as I remember us covering them, we haven't really had much issue with them. So
This is true.
yeah.
Um.
This is written by Mac McGloin, published Monday, April 28th, 2025. Superman plot leak. James Gunn makes online trolls Superman's new kryptonite.
God, that if that title is accurate to what the story actually is, I'm worried. Because we have seen so many superhero franchises completely and utterly borked by the need to be quote unquote topical. It didn't work in She-Hulk when they turned the intelligentsia into 4chan. It didn't work in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when they turned the Flag Smashers into Antifa with environmental themes. It didn't really like while the Batman was a good movie, making the Riddler an incel, to use the modern parlance, was probably the weakest part of it, and so on and so on and so on. So I am worried that I'm worried just in general because it's very hard to implement current politics or topical bullshit into these kind of stories without making them feel forced. But I'm also worried because it seems to be implying that Superman would care about his haters, like enough to prevent him from doing what he does, and that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the character.
Um, Giant Turtle, to be fair, that is often something Lex does against him. But yeah, I don't trust them not to just use this as an attack on online trolls. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, that and again, like the closest thing to a good story in this kind of vein was What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, where the elites were basically um repping the modern approach to superheroics, but it's a bit while the elite broadcasted themselves on TV and online, it's a bit different coming from someone who actually has
Uh,
superpowers and actually can
uh,
meaningfully disagree with Superman and making
hey,
Superman care about the
hey,
Twitter mob, essentially.
don't, Giant Turtle. I think he'd care. I think it could make him actually question if what he's doing is helping, basically mob gaslighting.
See, I don't think he'd care on the grounds that he doesn't do what he does for people's approval. He does what he does because he thinks it's right to do. Superman's moral intuition is very much self-directed.
I feel like there's like some talking past you guys on this, because I feel like you're both saying something. I agree with you both. Well, actually, I kind of agree with Giant Turtle, because I think you also forget that Superman's also just kind of a dude as well, and sometimes public perception can affect you in a way.
I don't know. I think that creates an egotistical flaw in his character that shouldn't be there.
What?
Because he shouldn't be doing it for approval.
No, I'm not saying approval. That's not at all what I was saying.
Right, but what I mean is it shouldn't bother him if people disapprove. Again, the best way to handle this would be have him go up against someone like the Elite, who reps the anti-Superman nihilistic pragmatism position. But having that work with the Twitter mob, it really makes Superman seem like he has a fragile ego at that point, and I think that is a disservice to the character.
I feel like you're looking at a weird angle that I'm just not seeing.
What I mean is that the fact that he inspires people doesn't really matter to Clark. He's grateful to be an inspiration to people, but that's not the motive why he does things, and therefore the absence of it wouldn't change his need to do the good that he sees he's capable of doing.
Hold on. Giant Turtle says it's not for approval, it's gaslighting. Imagine if everyone around you, even random strangers, were telling you that you were wearing a hat. You'd start to question your sanity, and maybe you just can't tell you have a hat.
But again, I think it's better off in a situation like Superman versus the Elite, because I don't think Superman is susceptible to gaslighting because he is just that incorruptible. Even when he disagreed with the Elite and everyone else was on their side, he stuck to his guns and showed them exactly why you don't do the nihilistic pragmatism thing.
I'm not okay, Don. I'm gonna be fully honest. You're making no sense. Like it seems like you're speaking random. Maybe it's just me, because I'm
having him be intellectually engaged with by someone equal to him, or at least in the same vein as him, like the Elite, makes perfect sense. Having him be susceptible to the guilt tripping of the Twitter mob makes him seem like a fragile child. And someone who cares far more about what people think of him than he realistically should. Anyway, on with the article, because we could go around in circles like this for the whole stream, honestly.
I just feel like I'm missing something when you're talking about this, or you're phrasing it in a way that's making me confused on what you mean.
The Twitter mob is immaterial to someone like Clark because
I get that, but
let me finish my explanation. Because he doesn't do what he does for approval's sake. He is grateful for approval when he has it, but he does not mind or care about the absence of it, and therefore he should be impervious to gaslighting. If he's going to be gaslit, it should be someone who is relatively on equal footing with him, like the Elite. He should not give two shits about Twitter mobs and cancel culture because he doesn't do what he does for public approval. He does what he does because of his internal self-regulating moral intuitions and or the care of people like his family, his friends, and his loved ones. Those people, they might be able to get him to feel sort of morose. But much like in Superman versus the Elite, or What's So Funny About Truth in the American Way, when he feels the weight of the elite's arguments pressing down upon him, he goes to see his parents, he goes to see his friends, and he goes to see his loved ones because their opinions matter more to him than the random bullshit of the Twitter mob or their spokesperson in the form of the elite. But if you're going to do the gaslighting thing, you need to have someone on his level gaslight him. You can't have him give a shit about the Twitter mob, because giving a shit about the Twitter mob makes it seem like he's out for public approval and he shouldn't give a damn about it. He should be grateful for it when he has it, but not give a damn when it's gone.
I get it. Okay, just I don't disagree with you, but okay, I think you're just saying in a way that's like, I don't know, like someone on his level. I don't know. It's like I think that's what's throwing me and Giant Turtle for here. It's
okay,
like,
what I mean is he should pay more attention when it's presented in a substantive manner, like the way Manchester Black does, or the way Lex Luthor sometimes does. When it's he needs to hear it not from the random vicissitudes of the Twitter mob, but from an actual interlocutor, is what I mean. Someone whose opinion he is inclined to take more seriously than the random gossip mill of the Twitter mob.
Just because, again, maybe it's just because how you talk, and also depending on some of your beliefs, just trying to simplify it here for people who can, basically someone who actually can back up their argument is basically what you're saying, right?
Or at least someone who can make their argument in a substantive manner instead of people bitching on Twitter.
Okay.
The way the title of this article is written makes it sound like they're gonna have some Twitter stand-in be the main antagonist or the main catalyst for Clark to have a crisis of faith, and that would either make him care far more than he should about public approval, or it would make him seem egotistical in the sense that his ego can be so fragile that it's bruised by being canceled by Twitter anons.
Okay.
And I think either of those
Dalton?
would be a disservice to the character, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with the latter, but again, it's just the way you were.
I mean, I tried to explain like 5 or 6 times.
Well, no, it's just like the way you were. Look, it's just the way, but without the context or explanation given to what you meant about someone on his level, like I think okay, so just because this is confusing, we haven't even started the article, and I'm not gonna.
Moving on.
Okay, so Giant Turtle, if you want to have this out with Dalton at some other point, please do, because I think I'm too dumb here to really get what the fuck what he's trying to say. Okay, James Gunn's revenge on the internet. A bizarre and rumored plot for James Gunn's Superman has surfaced online, which claims the Man of Steel gets dragged into the world of cancel culture. Hold on. Just let me read basically the whole thing first, just so we have the full thing. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the leak, it's claimed that James Gunn sets up Superman to be battered by social media hate, which apparently makes the Man of Steel feel sad. We're not joking. It's further claimed that James Gunn uses a hashtag super shit hashtag in the movie, which trends and damages Superman's image. But the real twist, Lex Luthor is behind it all, using an army of mutant monkeys and keyboards to flood and troll the internet and tear Superman down. Okay,
Wait, what? Okay.
I will respect the mutant monkeys because this feels very Silver Age, but
Okay.
it's also incredibly stupid.
Also, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, I think they did a plot line similar to this better in BVS because there was the whole an alien so powerful that he can't be held accountable makes people feel on edge and in danger and so forth.
No, I agree. Sorry.
I can't believe we have gone so far down this rabbit hole that I'm actually finding something preferable about BVS. But if this is the actual plot, we are so doomed.
Update. YouTuber Neurotic on X is saying the rumors are true. Update number 2, a scooper says the joke is something fantastic. Update 3, additional details have become known, including gun mocks, the Snyder cut, and the plot follows fake news.
Oh god, this is like it's unironically sounding like She-Hulk again. It's turning the intelligentsia into 4chan all over again. Granted, obviously there are ways I suppose you could execute it that would work, but I'm having a hard time thinking of any that would actually make this work. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, remind me about the intelligentsia after the stream. Something came to mind for something.
Okay, fine. But yeah, this sounds like an absolute clusterfuck. I seriously don't know if James Gunn realizes that how much the odds are stacked against him. Because this is a bold creative swing. I will give it to him that it's a bold creative swing, and I also enjoy the idea of mutated monkeys. Basically the classic monkeys at typewriters joke. But being that as it may, in interesting callbacks or references to the Silver Age tone be as it may, we have seen.
Okay, so sorry.
We have seen superhero content try to tackle this sort of storyline several times before. I just listed a bunch of them, and they were horrible. And I think if DC were in a better space right now, that might be excusable. But James, you're not working for Marvel anymore, and even Marvel isn't doing well at the moment. DC has basically been perma-fucked from the word go ever since 2013 because they had absolutely no idea what they're doing. And you're already having to deal with the issue of a lot of fans are still mad that Henry Cavill never got a chance to actually play the character as he should be written. So you're already playing on hard mode and you're trying to do these kind of bizarre choices. That's going to bite you in the ass, I think.
Okay. Okay, fuck it. I'll pitch how I would do the DCU. Just off the top of my head. So keep in mind this is just random spitballing here. So just because we have the time. Full basis, like just what I would base the universe off, and just to kind of stick what we kind of have going on here. So unfortunately, Don, I would not be able to go with your idea of doing the Golden Age, unfortunately.
Someday, I hope I live long enough to see them actually do that. But
I know, look, I would love to do that too, honestly. But just I can't
playing the ball where it lies. I know.
I could do something that kind of bridges the gap, though, because to be fair, I kind of I didn't grow up with the Silver Age, mind you. I'm not that old, unlike Don.
I didn't grow up with the Silver Age either. Thank you, but fuck off.
I mean, you're still pretty old. Let's, uh, but
I will remember this in 4 years, sir. I will remind you of this in 4 years when you are exactly where I am currently sitting.
motherfucker, I have had old man bones and problems with my body since I was like fucking teenager. I probably should actually go see a doctor about that now that I think about it.
Yeah, you are not going to win the victim off against someone who has a diagnosable disability, my dude. I don't like playing the disability card, but if we're
Hey,
going to go
hey,
into
jokes on
who
you.
suffers the most aches and pains and shit, ahem.
Hey, jokes on you. I have a lot more mental scars than you probably do. And now,
That
actually, now I made myself sad.
is arguable and debatable, but let's step away from the existential ledge.
Okay. Anyway, kind of bridging the gap between like, because I like that, and I also like a lot of those ideas from the Silver Age. Okay, so the entire DCU, how I would do it, would be based off, well, it would be based off two things that are basically one and the same, but kind of different.
Mhm.
DC: A New Frontier by Darwin Cook, and the animated movie that was, you know, based off that, Justice League: New Frontier.
Mhm.
Just because I feel like, for one thing, the comic does tackle it does bridge the gap between the Golden Age and the Silver Age, explain stuff like that, while also being a kind of time capsule of the time period between like the space age and like the growing space age and the end of World War
You
II.
mean the end of? Oh, I thought you meant the end of the Cold War. Sorry.
Cold War didn't end until the 90s.
Well, late 80s, but yeah. Go ahead.
Well, no, it ended in 91.
Seriously.
Well, the USSR was disbanded in 1991, which technically is the official. I'm sure it could have technically ended like earlier, but
Most people that I'm aware of usually frame the tear down the wall speech as the basic endpoint of the Cold War.
which I believe. Okay, anyway, besides the point. Yeah, it was a bridge between like the time, like from the end of World War II through like the 50s to like the space age, like the beginning of the space age.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would have had that kind of be the basis. And yes, it kind of would have been. I mean, it technically would have been modern, but I would have done like like what's Fantastic Four first steps are kind of doing, have it being kind of like a retro futuristic world,
Mhm.
just because it's timeless. And honestly, I really do think we should have gone back to that kind of style and overall just aesthetic. But
Yes, we should, which is why I've always suggested that DC do the smart thing and do their golden age, but I would continue beating that drum until I am dead or they actually manage to do it.
but yeah, kind of
I fully suspect I will die before they actually manage to do it right.
yeah, kind of in that area would be a thing. And like, I guess the first quote unquote phase or chapter, but what did they ever call it? Actually, I can't remember.
I have absolutely no idea. All I know is they only showed the first half of the first phase anyway,
Yeah.
which was also another dumb decision.
Right, but yeah, it would have been a build up to. Well, I kind of would combine the center with Starro, like have Starro be the first villain in this new iteration of the Justice League fight.
Mm.
Also, give Martian Manhunter a proper movie.
Well, yeah.
Like, give that guy like just full. Like, honestly, he's like one of the most underrepresented heroes. Like, he's a founding member of the Justice League.
And yet he hasn't gotten his own show, he doesn't have his own video games, and they have never bothered to give him a movie.
Well, that the same can also be said for Wonder Woman, who is part of the Trinity. He's never gotten the same recognition as their other two counterparts.
Well, not the same, but they did finally give her her own movie in 2017. Granted, it shouldn't have taken that long, but
Honestly, I'm also up for the idea. Like, you heard about like the Monolith Entertainment Wonder Woman video game got canceled?
I did not know that. No,
Yeah, it got canceled.
bugger.
For those who don't know who Monolith Entertainment was, because they got shut down, hence why the Wonder Woman game was canceled. They made the Lord of the Rings, Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games.
I guess it's a little better that they didn't cancel it to cancel it, but all their projects got canceled because they got canceled.
Yeah, still sucks though. But yeah, and I'm gonna be fully honest, just to fully differentiate from like all the other costumes that they did long before,
Mm-hmm.
cloth costumes,
Mm.
not like the plastically rubber costumes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for Wonder Woman, as weird as it sounds, and you guys are gonna give me weird looks, I would have done leather.
And that totally has nothing to do with your preferences or anything. But
No, actually, no, it's not. It's one obviously it visually symbols the connection that with the creators of Wonder Woman, who were like, well, the creator of Wonder Woman,
BDSM enthusiasts.
respect, obviously, but also it just makes sense because if I remember correctly, I know there was some bronze that was used for like Greco and Roman stuff, but I believe a lot of them did wear leather armor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, obviously, I'd say like a mix of bronze or whatever metal was used along with the leather.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, honestly, yeah, like the first Justice League movie, what should have been that they fought Starro the Conqueror.
Yep, but they used him in Suicide Squad instead for
Look,
reasons.
honestly, it does bug me that that was the first ever live action appearance we saw of him. But I actually liked how they handled that character because they actually gave him a really interesting backstory there. Yes, it was they killed him off, but
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Come to think of it, both Suicide Squads stole first appearances of other people's nemesis because the Enchantress was the villain in the first one, and she was the first villain of the Justice League Dark, and Starro was the villain in the second one, and he was the villain of the first Justice League. So, for some reason, we can't, for whatever fucking reason, give the Suicide Squad their own fucking villains to play with. Even though the Get Out of Hell free card storyline would have been amazing for a Suicide Squad movie, because you could have had them like heisting it and swiping it from each other, and it would have been like a globe-trotting chasing thing where they have to keep track of whoever has the card at the moment and stuff. But no, we can't give the Suicide Squad their own villains. They need to be given everyone else's.
yeah, actually, they did do that movie, the anime movie of Hell to Pay. They did that.
They did.
I know you hated the Doctor Fate character they gave that one.
Yeah, the freaking surfer bro himbo porn star dude.
Stripper.
Yeah, I don't. Oh god, no respect, no respect at all for Doctor Fate, and it pissed me off. At least they fixed him in the JSA movies in the most recent DC animated universe thing.
They will never get to see again.
Yeah, I know. Fuck off.
I just felt like you need a reminder. Anyway, back to this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, okay, sorry. I just kept always seeing this recommended, or not recommended, but like if they were doing a '90s Superman,
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Fraser. What do y'all think
would-
about that?
He would be very good in the role. Yes.
I thought so too.
Would basically be child's play for him to play that character, but unfortunately, the days of Brendan Fraser being that jacked are long behind us. Unfortunately.
Well, when he did all the stunt work he did in his youth, that would take toll on your body.
This is true, but it's still a missed opportunity. It's kind of like I wish they had made the MCU in the 90s, because then we could have gotten Raul Julia as Doctor Strange, which would have just been perfect casting.
Anyway. Alright, so tweets from Nerdrotic. Oh no, the hashtag super shit rumors in James Gunn Superman are true.
Yeah, we don't agree with Gary on a lot usually. I mean, we did a full 2 episodes of BTFOing his takedown of Multiverse of Madness. Still some of my favorite videos we've ever done, but that's neither here nor there. We don't agree with Gary on a lot, but I think he's right on this. I don't think there is a single way you could do Superman versus social media and have it actually work in today's climate with today's writing. And while I appreciate the mutant monkeys on typewriters thing, trying to simultaneously do a storyline like this and also have it be funny is just going to come off as cringe, I'm afraid. And the DC universe cannot afford cringe at this particular juncture. It's basically all of their chips are on Superman, and if Superman doesn't do well or perform similarly to Man of Steel, they're up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. Unfortunately.
Sorry, I think there was a gunfight going on outside.
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, you can't.
Although it still worries me. You do not yet have my permission to die.
It wasn't
So you
anywhere
cannot.
near me. Look, it wasn't. I just heard it echoing. So, besides, I keep myself in the house. I'm fine. Hello, Mad Max. While it's closed July 11th.
Yeah, that some stuff in the trailers has been worthy of being cautiously optimistic about, but if this is the storyline, that just about burned to a crisp whatever goodwill I have left for this movie and this franchise.
All right.
It's like that scene from The Dark Knight where the Joker sets the pile of money on fire just because he can, kind of. Anyway, moving on. Hello? Brainstormer? He's gone quiet. Brainstormer. Oh dear, folks. We appear to have lost him, unfortunately. I'm guessing it's because his computer died again. I think. But then again, he's still screen sharing and shit, so I'm not sure what to do here. Because typically, if his computer crashed out, the screen would stop sharing. And now it's.
Sorry, I had to disappear for a sec.
Alright. Anyway, moving forward.
Yeah, what does the rumor say? The rumor comes via the My Time to Shine Hello account on X. Worth a mention is that Gunn has shot down some of the account's previous claims. In the movie, Superman is frustrated by social media backlash, with the hashtag #supershit being mentioned several times as really getting under his skin. Meanwhile, in Lex's interdimensional world, hundreds of mutant monkeys are shown typing furiously at keyboards, flooding social media with hate against Superman. To be fair, Lex Luthor is a petty enough bitch. I could see him doing that.
Well, yes, but here's among the other parts of this that kind of are weirding me out. What do you mean Lex Luthor has an interdimensional realm?
Again, I could definitely see him doing that.
Oh god, they're gonna have to do a lot to set that up though. If otherwise known as a businessman like Luthor has his own pocket dimension, what in the actual fuck? Also, if he keeps the monkeys on typewriters in a pocket dimension, how in the fuck do they still have internet connectivity? I'm willing to allow for comic book physics after a point, but Lex Luthor is a very usually street level character. He shouldn't have more particle accelerators than CERN at any given moment to create a pocket dimension or some shit. And again, this raises the question of interdimensional internet connectivity, question mark?
I mean, to be fair, do we really know how dimensions really work?
No, but usually there's at least a token attempt to spout some technobabble and explain how we get from there to there.
All right.
DT, I think Max was referring to July 11th is the release date for Superman. So I think his comment was related to if this is the plot, then he's keeping his money, hence wallet closed. I think.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
Is the rumor true? As of Monday morning, James Gunn. Oh, what are you talking about? Doesn't Lex normally have a whole megacorp and he's a genius?
Right, but his genius usually takes the form of robots and tech and super weapons, not in creating his own pocket dimension. That kind of shit I would expect more from Darkseid or from Mixius Pitlick, not Lex.
Lex, I think, has even done that stuff in the comics. I haven't read much of the guy, but he's done some crazy ass shit.
Right, but this is also the first appearance in a new universe, so I think keeping Lex scaled down a bit might make stuff like this more plausible later.
I see your point there.
There's also the story-related question of, okay, but why is he in another dimension instead of just doing this in the mundane world and keeping the monkeys in a warehouse or some shit.
Okay.
Of what use is the pocket dimension aspect, I guess is the question.
No traces? It can't be found?
But that raises the question of if an internet connection can get through to a pocket dimension, what's stopping somebody from opening a portal with the portal gun from the one Batman the Brave and the Bold episode and shit.
Okay. As of Monday morning, James Gunn hasn't shot down the rumor on Threads. He's been much less active on social media regarding responding to fans, but Gunn did shoot down the recent speculation that Garrett Dillahunt is really playing the DCU's Green Arrow.
I don't really have anything to say there.
I'm gonna be honest. I really would like to see a proper Green Arrow done on film. Like, no offense to Stephen Amell, he's not a bad actor, and I liked some of the stuff he did in Arrow, but it really was just Robin Hood Batman, basically.
Yeah.
Plus, I would like to see as weird as it is, I would actually like to see someone do a more modern representation of Green Arrow's costume.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the hood or anything, but I'm not talking like, the cap, goatee, all that shit.
Also, I've said this before, but I will say it again. I'm worried that the surplus of so many characters in Superman will actually take focus away from Superman. And that bugs me.
Alright, moving on.
Yep, moving on.
My opinion, I could see the rumor being true, as if it is true, it's Gunn's response to how he was canceled at Disney and Marvel Studios over his tweets from years ago, which, interestingly enough, seemed to be resurfacing online from the Snyder Cult trolls.
Okay, James, I was on your side when they canceled you, and I remain on your side when they canceled you, and so on. The things you tweeted were edgy trauma jokes, and that's not a cancelable offense, or it shouldn't be. But for the love of all that is holy, when you make a Superman movie, the character you should be focusing in on is Superman. You should not be using Superman or the IP of Superman as a platform for your personal grievances. This is if this is in fact based on your own personal history with cancellation, this is the worst kind of the character's a mouthpiece for myself insert bullshit I think I've ever seen. And I'm including in that things like She-Hulk and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and stuff, where they turned the intelligentsia into 4chan, and where they turned the Flag Smashers into Antifa with environmentalist overtones, respectively. You should not use Clark Kent as a stand-in for you so you can rail against cancel culture. If for no other reason, then it's not topical anymore, because for the most part, the current election zeitgeist has basically nerfed a lot of the power that the cancel mobs used to have. I think this is you projecting your personal problems in a way that's really going to ruin the movie, if in fact that's why you're doing it. Moving on.
If you watch Gunn's Creature Commandos, he did something similar by having Cersei's army be made up of incels. There is even a character officially named Incel Son. Male characters are simps, the cops are the bad guys, things of that nature, etc.
Sweet, merciful Hecate, we might be already doomed.
I mean, yeah, no, all that shit was in there. I watched that show.
Oh my god. James, please, don't do this. Don't do it, James. Why? Oh.
Why do you think I did a rewrite of Creature Commandos?
I'm sure in his head this is him being topical, but here's the thing. Insofar as those topics were topical, they were topical almost a decade ago. Right now, your attempt to be topical is just going to make this seem out of touch and dated. And here's the other thing. Intersectional feminist social justice types hate capitalism and don't like buying things. So no amount of pandering to them is going to result in a good movie or a good box office, especially not given the aforementioned problems that you already have with this IP, the Henry Cavill situation, the reboot situation, and the frankly just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks attitude you have toward world building, it seems. This could end up being very, very bad, and I'm so sorry, Brainstormer, because I know how much you like this character. But if this is actually what they're doing, we might be fucked already. Moving on.
Alright, so God, including an army of troll monkeys, is an obvious metaphor for what happened with him back in 2018. Disney fired him over the conservatives discovering his tweets from 10 or so years ago. What Gunn is doing, just like he did with Creature Commandos, is using Superman to get back at everyone. Great.
That's going to go down like a lead balloon that's recently been set on fire, James. How is it that one of the greatest directors working today needs to be told this? But I will tell you anyway. Do not use pre-established IP for your own personal self-insert gripes and shit. Do not try to be politically topical, because by the time what you think is politically topical makes it to screen, it's not going to be politically topical anymore, because the zeitgeist will have moved on. Had you made this movie back in 2018 while you were being canceled, it might have held some kind of water, especially because that would have been before She-Hulk and before Falcon and the Winter Soldier and before all those other bad uses of modern topical politics bullshit. But doing it in 2020 freaking 5, mid 2025 at that, which, we still have, what, May, June, we still have like 2 months to go. Who knows where the zeitgeist is going to be come July. James, please, I beg of you, just make a good Superman movie. Don't be topical. Don't be political. Don't be like mocking the audience, because large swaths of the audience are already finding this to be an extremely hard sell because of the Henry Cavill thing and the rebooting the universe again thing. So, like, James, you're already playing on hard mode. Why do you insist on doubling down on things that will make this next to impossible to make work? Moving on.
Yeah, Kevin Feige ended up rehiring Gunn, and Gunn finished Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but that's when Warner Brothers scooped up Gunn, who did Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad. Following GOTG 3, Gunn returned to WB, and the rest, they say, is history. He's now in charge of DC, along with producer Peter Safran.
And James, my brother in Silver Age fandom, if this is what you try to do with this movie, your entire DC universe is going to go up in smoke. I can guarantee you. Because you're already going to have a certain percentage of the DC audience that's not going to see this on printable because of what happened with Henry. Then you've got another set of people who have noticed the weird creative decisions you've made ever since getting in charge of the thing. And if you go through with this, or if this is a meaningful recognition of the plot, it's going to bomb like Hiroshima, my dude. And when it does, the entire rest of the DC EU you're building is going to go with it, I think. Assuming that, they don't kick you to the can as soon as it bombs, which is also likely.
Mm.
Or rather, kick you to the curb. Sorry, wrong metaphor. But yeah, assuming they don't kick you to the curb when it inevitably bombs. This is the plot.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm.
What happened?
I'm trying to think how I would do this movie.
Ah,
I might have something. Let's finish this article and then I'll pitch it. And again, it'll just be off the cuff, so I won't. If I do a
okay.
stupid or anything, just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, I hope the rumor isn't true. It sounds horrible. Release info: Superman gets released in theaters on July 11th, 2025. Film stars David Cornsworth as the Man of Steel, Rich Brahanahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. The official plot released for the movie offers, in his signature style, James Gunn takes on the original superhero in the newly imagined DC universe with a singular blend of epic action, humor, and heart, delivering a Superman who's driven by compassion and an inherent belief in the goodness of humankind. Okay, the fact that he has. That's actually kind of worrying with the plot release. That it's not actually talking about the story
The plot?
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's at least an orange flag. I'm not sure if it's a red one, but that does sort of lend credence to the idea that this might be true.
All right, give me 1 sec.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pitch. I would do Superman. Just so everyone's not bored looking at our faces. Well, my icon and Dalton's face.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dalton's got kind of bored face.
Ahem.
I mean, you kind
You're
of look
not
like.
wrong, but also fuck you.
I mean, you kind of look like a generic white guy. Let's be fully honest, man.
Uh-huh. Child, what am I going to do with you?
Absolutely nothing. You like me how I am.
Damn it. You're right, but also fuck you.
You wish. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting an image, so
Yeah.
he was a little slow.
Uh-huh.
There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. How I would do this, obviously, basically throw out everything. Well, actually, no. I mean, obviously, I would keep the. It doesn't look generic. Okay, Transformers. Yeah.
I mean, I
generic.
didn't want to mention the top hat and the bow tie, but also the top hat and the bow tie.
I mean,
Most people don't put in that much effort when they dress themselves.
Don, do you
Granted,
want
I wish we lived in a world where more people did, but that's again me going gas the t-shirts again.
Don? Do you know what I thought of when I see you like that?
Tread very carefully here.
I say this as your friend who knows that you actually aren't going to hold it against me. It's just a funny little. I'm making this as a joke. Okay.
Go on.
I don't remember the official name for the photo, but it's that. I guess it is kind of the basis of why people use the term neckbeard. You know, with the fedora, the large guy with the really bad scratchy beard doing like the hat tip.
You're thinking of George Sedini is who you're thinking of.
Okay. Again, I saw that when I was like a kid, so I never really knew.
The context.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah. Okay.
thing.
So my brief pitch on how I would do Superman 2025. To be fair, I will kind of take some ideas I've had in the past because I have thought about how I would do a Superman movie many times.
Mm-hmm.
This actually. So obviously, I would keep most of the cast. because they're actually pretty solid.
Mhm.
Minus the extra superheroes.
Yeah.
Just no offense to the guys. I honestly would keep the cast that they have.
Yeah,
Like,
they'd still be casted. They would just go in a different fucking movie because this is supposed to be a Superman movie.
Yeah.
Also, I'm assuming you're going to fix the counterintuitive casting, like Nathan Fillion would actually be playing Hal Jordan and not Guy Gardner for whatever fucking reason.
I do think he could play Guy Gardner, but he's mostly been portrayed as Hal when he's done voice work. So
I don't know why James thought let's make him play the asshole Green Lantern and not
either
the one
that,
everyone
or
wanted to play.
Okay, it's either he's Hal Jordan or some other like hero. I know there's another fit he could be, but I just can't think of it off the top of my head currently. So
Kyle Rayner.
No. One, Kyle Rayner is kind of supposed to be a young Green Lantern and also Hispanic. So
Okay, fair enough.
But okay, first big change is that central villain Lex Luthor is in this movie, but not the main villain to Superman yet. An antithesis, sure, but not the main villain.
Okay.
Main villain is one Dalton has been begging for ever since I got him into Superman, like fully. Brainiac.
To be fair, I've been asking for Brainiac to make a live action appearance in the movies since watching Superman the Animated Series as a kid. So this is not a new development for me. I keep thinking to myself, why don't they use Brainiac every time?
Casting wise for him, that is, I might have had a pick for him at one point.
Kelsey Grammer could make a really interesting Brainiac.
Either him, because that's actually not bad. But I was thinking. I know I had something here. I might. Hold on. I picked someone for DCEU that could actually also be good here.
Mm.
Hold on. Okay. Bill Nighy as Brainiac.
That's fucking genius.
Thank you. And okay. To be fair, this was an idea I had come up with when I was actually trying to write a pitch for the canceled Superman Lives from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That would have starred, Nicolas Cage. I was playing the ball where it lies. Okay,
I know.
Okay.
I know what you do. It's just the one silver lining of the Joel Schumacher Batman movies meant we never got Tim Burton bastardizing Superman.
All right. Again, I would have done like kind of a retro futuristic. Honestly, the scenes we've seen of Metropolis actually ain't so bad. Like, it actually looks like kind of a City of Tomorrow a little bit, like with Art Deco-ness as well.
Yeah.
Which is good. All right, so I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little splurge here of talking, because I've literally written and visualized an entire like opening prologue for the Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Krypton, I know, but
I mean, we're 3 for 3 then, because you've got you had that in the Donner movies, you had that in Man of Steel, and then of course you had it. You have it here.
Well, okay, so I'm going retrofuturistic here. So it's kind of visually, it was supposed to be very visually striking. Like, idea-wise, it was the idea I had for Krypton, like the design for Krypton I wanted to do was, again, I'm basing some ideas. This were the ideas I had seen from concept art done by, and just general ideas I got from that concept art for Superman Lives, because it was actually like visually interesting there. Is that most of Krypton's like the upper part of it, like the actual like planet, was very rocky, very like how to say barren.
Sorry, my neck My neck decided to bend the wrong way, and now I have a crick in it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's very barren, very like think Mars, but actually green.
Mhm.
Like it's green rock or something.
Mhm.
And the inhabitants of Krypton lived in dome cities underground.
Okay, that's an interesting concept.
And it looked very much like the Jetsons mixed with like maybe a little bit of John Carter. I'm obviously speaking of the movie because I have not read the comics
Right.
that's based off of.
Or the pulps that they were based on.
Yeah, I didn't mean pulps, but I said comics. But
Yeah.
either way, yeah. And again, it was supposed to be very retro futuristic. It was very like. Also think like maybe Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon, in terms of like the set designs and stuff. And it was set during a massive war across the planet of the cities. All the Kryptonians were fighting guerrilla warfare, and their costumes were supposed to resemble like the reflective, like it was supposed to be Blade Runner mixed with the Donner Krypton look, like Kryptonian clothing. The reflective white, ethereal kind of clothing with like Blade Runner aesthetic as well, like grungy and kind of stuff. Just kind of updated a bit,
So kind of like the Mike TV scene in the 2005 Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I suppose so. Again, a little more colorful, but yeah. And they were fighting thousands upon thousands of Brainiac drones. And we follow Jor-El, who I don't. Again, this was set in the 90s, and my ideal pick for Jor-El at that time would have been Rutger Hauer. Hauer?
He could have done it.
I don't know who I'd have him play here, but point being, he's running through all that chaos, trying to get to a main central node, like a building with like Brainiac's like skull ship on top of it, right? Bust in and tries to deactivate Brainiac, and they have a conversation, and basically gives the history of like Brainiac's creation, why he exists, right? Which was to kind of be sort of the big brother AI of the whole planet, to help the planet, to help the people of the planet, and build it.
Borrowing that a little bit from the Superman animated series.
Yes. And it's revealed that like this is supposed to be like the dramatic irony of the whole thing. Like the audience knows before Clark does. Jor-El helped, or basically was the primary creator of Brainiac. Thus makes him father. And like hell, I had the idea like Brainiac would even call Jor-El father before Jor-El dies. Like, and Jor-El gets like.
And then when Brainiac shows up on Earth years later, you've got the feuding brother motif.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And Jor-El said, like Brainiac, he basically kind of causes Krypton's destruction by basically overturning all the factories of Krypton to create his, basically build like both his rocket, like his his skull ship, and the drones, right, and also the technology and stuff, and like basically was just his curiosity, like his sentience, which he gained, outgrew his programming to follow Krypton, like to
kind of like the Pluto arc in Rick and Morty, with the corporations mining Pluto.
Yes.
So much that it shrinks.
And after Jor-El is shot in the back by one of the Brainiac drones, Brainiac takes off, saying that he's going to seek out more, because like I wanted to play up the idea that it's a learning AI, right? Like it wants to know more, it needs to know more.
So hence the beginning of the knowledge harvesting thing.
Yes. And the ending of the prologue is Jor-El contacting Laura and having her send Kal-El away, because that was like the backup plan if Jor-El couldn't stop Brainiac.
Yeah. Contingencies.
Yeah. Goes up and away. As Krypton implodes.
Mm-hmm.
Music-wise, I was not sure if it was just going to be the orchestral or just like the regular like soundtrack, or we could play a song here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we show the rock like the opening credits, because I'm sick of the opening credits being put at the end of a movie.
Yeah, they need to bring opening credits back. Especially because so many of what should be the opening credits are so visually interesting, and yet we only see them at the end of the thing.
Yeah, it's weird to me. Either way, it's flying through space, like follow the rocket going through, and obviously do Easter eggs or whatever in the stars and stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he's landing, like crash landing onto Earth, cut to black, and then we like do a time skip, obviously like 20, 25 years later or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that he's kind of established already. Again, yes, I am borrowing a lot from Superman the Animated Series. So I do think actually like the first couple episodes was like a good, perfect origin for Superman.
Yeah, they honestly could have released it as an animated movie, and it would have worked as well.
Yeah. Like we're seeing Clark's first day on the job as a reporter for the Daily Planet. But Superman, or whatever he's going to be called at the time, before he's called Superman specifically, had been doing things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get small glimpse photos of like blurs saving people, or
so basically the Smallville arc, more or less.
A little bit, yeah. And again, we're focusing like first act mostly. It's mostly focusing on Clark as like a reporter, because that is a thing that is also integral, because the guy is actually a fantastic reporter.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of the episode of Superman the Animated Series where Clark is going to publish an expose on somebody and they try to kill him, but it doesn't work obviously because, well, Superman.
Yeah.
I
remember that.
And then they end up basically pulling a bait and switch by having a Superman. I think it was a robot, wasn't it?
I can't
accidentally or try to save Clark, but you know the episode I mean.
Yeah, I do. And there was going to be, I don't know if it would go over well with some people, but it was just to kind of pay homage to his roots as a Golden Age character.
Mm-hmm.
For most of the movie, he could not fly. He could leap taller than a building.
Leap tall buildings in a single bound, etc.
Yes. Thank you. And kind of slow his descent, possibly.
Yeah, falling with style.
Yeah. But the flying would have happened after he kind of finally self-actualized himself as Superman. I didn't, like I said, this is just kind of like me off the cuff here, and like some ideas that I've had in the past, but I never like finished specifically. But yeah, like the dynamic between him and Brainiac would be very interesting here, I think, if you had that connection that Brainiac is kind of Clark's older brother.
Yeah. Brainiac is the child of Jor-El's intellect. Clark is the child of Jor-El's heart, I think is a good way to think of it.
Yeah, that works. And also you could really play up that, again, this is an AI one that is also developed by aliens that have been around a lot longer and are a lot more incredibly advanced than humanity, but is one that is actively learned and developed over how many years Clark has been. And even before that, because you could say roughly it's been around a little longer, because it's been operating Krypton for however many years before that. So it's Brainiac is effectively like a very intelligent being, and again with sentience, you could make the argument that it could also be emotional, because I have seen, like, my initial ideas have always been that it's the difference between Brainiac and Superman is that Superman has that humanity and connection to people, while Brainiac doesn't, is completely alone, like emotionless. But as I've gone into it and I've even looked into Brainiac a little bit more, I think it's kind of more interesting if, while he doesn't have
he developed emotions somehow. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, while he doesn't have connections like Clark does, he is emotional. I think the lack of connections has left him unable to truly.
I think a good inspiration to take here would be Am from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, because Brainiac, before he builds himself a robotic body, at least, is a mind trapped in a box. So, and if you've read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, or you've listened to it, you know that inability to experience life or to have organic connections with people is what drives Am insane and makes him want to torture things.
Yeah, no, I get that. There was one hero I would have actually liked to have built up here specifically. Like, you could expand on him later in like a later Superman movie. Steel.
Right, because
John
he takes over during the death of Superman arc.
Well, and also he's an interesting character that becomes part of the Superman family, because yes, Superman has his own group of superheroes that are centered around him, like the Bat Family, and they don't get a lot of attention,
Well, in fairness, neither does Superman, because people think that Superman is silly or childish or whatever the fuck.
Right. And there's also one other thing, just because I kind of want to lean away from it for the moment. And again, I think the interesting thing, yes, I'm using a lot of ideas from the DCAU, because that was actually pretty good. It's really good.
I mean, the DCAU got shit right, so why not use it? It's the same argument I would make about the Arrowverse. Why in the fuck didn't they call Paul Dini or Bruce Timm to consult on shit?
I don't know. Instead of building up the romance of Clark and Lois here, like the first movie, I want to build up both their competitive rivalry they have and also their friendship.
Yeah, the friendship that later blooms into romance instead of doing the cliche romance movie will they won't they thing.
Yeah. Because they handle that again super well in the DCAU, like Superman the Animated Series,
which makes the feelings that they do eventually develop for each other all the more earned. Because back then you actually had to remember, oh wait, this is a universe. It has to operate organically. Fucking hell.
Yeah. But I think what would be actually really like cool idea, like the reveal. Honestly, I think it would have to be Brainiac, because he would be the only one who would know that information, that Jor-El created him and thus makes them effectively brothers.
Yeah.
I could see that one thing I legitimately want to kind of play Brainiac like early on before we do a reveal of him
Mhm.
as this mysterious, enigmatic kind of figure, right? Like he's watching and stuff, like he's observing Superman, watching him. Like he sends the drones down to
Yeah, kind of like the Martians from War of the Worlds,
yeah,
eyeing the Earth with distant, envious eyes, etc. I forget the opening bit of War of the Worlds. God damn it! It has one of the best openings though of like any book ever.
yeah.
War of the Worlds opening is fucking genius.
Um, yeah, and I like he sends the drones after Superman. Um, like test his strength, his abilities, and all that. Study him from afar, observing like a scientist would, because like you said, he's created from Jor El's mind.
I also think that that makes sense given that I don't think the Kryptonians would know what red or what yellow sun radiation does to them. So this would be new to Brainiac. The idea that for some reason this Kryptonian, who should be only about as strong as a normal human, is several hundred times or several 100,000 times stronger than any being that Brainiac could realistically come into contact with at this point.
That's the idea. That's the idea I had with that when Brainiac basically abducts Superman. Um, activates red sun lamps that constructed on the ship to depower him,
Mm,
so Superman's at
yeah.
the mercy of Brainiac. Well, Brainiac can also have a civil discussion with them without worrying about Clark falling.
Well, also I would add that Brainiac wants to dissect Clark to figure out why his physiology is so different in the first place.
What's that one movie that had that like that one alien movie that had that abduction scene that was like basically shot to be like a fucking horror movie?
Um, I think I know the one you mean, but the name escapes me entirely. What the fuck?
Like the gray aliens had like a human skin pigmentation, like
Right, I'm
pinkish.
trying to. What the fuck is that called? It's not Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's not. It's not Life. That was the one with the quasi like venom symbiote alien motif. What the fuck is that movie called?
Either way, okay. Clark strapped to a
But yeah,
table
I know what you mean though.
and be shot like that. Clark, Brainiac is like talking to him and speaking about like how much talks about like the history of Krypton, gives brief explanation. I could see him like pulling up holograms, like honestly, like educational like holograms from Krypton, because he probably would have kept all that stuff.
Yeah, didn't he kind of do that in his first appearance in Superman the Animated Series with the like orb thing? The like orbs that he's collected?
Maybe I can't remember.
I could have sworn that was the premise of their their first meeting
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen
was
the animated series, so my mind's a little foggy. Um,
mm,
but I'm talking like legit, actual like Kryptonian educational VODs,
yeah.
like holograms. Like hell, even in the language of actual Kryptonian.
Hmm.
And I can just play like even with like I can almost see like again if we're keeping Bill Nighy right here for him,
Hmm.
almost being childishly confused that Clark doesn't know the language of his people.
And then presumably Brainiac scans the planet, downloads all the human languages, and then translates it to English. Because Brainiac, I'm sure, has a bunch of like fancy scanner bullshit.
Yeah,
So he could basically download the entire internet of Earth in the space of about 5 seconds.
I don't. Yeah, it's like
especially if he's coming from a point that's so much far advanced from even Krypton technology. Earth technology is nothing as compared to that. So he could probably store the entire internet in a single file on his computer or something.
Yeah. But I just think like how like he just I also like the idea of like again just to play both like almost kind of his naivete with Clark and
Mm-hmm.
also the kind of just wonder he has of exploring something new. Because I honestly like the idea I would love to see with him is whenever he sees something or is examining something or dissecting something or whatever, something new that he has to learn,
Mm-hmm.
he's almost giddy.
Yeah, because it defaults back to kind of his primary directive, and it makes him happy.
Which I honestly think makes him kind of more terrifying because he's not like a cold, emotionless robot. He literally,
He's not malevolent. He's just so it's kind of a quasi Lovecraftian thing. What they say of Lovecraftian creatures don't crush humans because they want to destroy humans. They crush humans because we're essentially bedbugs to them. Well, from a like super intelligent singleton AI sort of vein, that's what Brainiac is at this point. He downloads entire planets worth of knowledge just on a whim most of the time. So what what does what does he care for human society? Especially if when he grew sentience, he decided he didn't even particularly care much for his own civilization, or at least that his own civilization was less important than the "I need to find out things" impulse.
yeah. Um,
Not not to be too topical, but what we're describing here is basically Brainiac literally having weaponized autism. Not gathering knowledge and data is his special interest, and he doesn't care about anything else. Oh god, that's genius! Oh, I love that so much.
I still think it kind of makes him more terrifying that he's actually more emotionally expressive as a machine.
Because you can, in theory, at least reason with a cold calculating machine. When that machine starts replicating emotions, less predictability.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, I guess ending wise, huh? How would I end that actually? Because I feel like the final confrontation would be on Brainiac's ship.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like it was in his first appearance in the animated series.
But if I mean Brainiac would take precautions, basically douse every hallway and everything in red sun radiation.
I mean, he might not even be doing that necessarily as a defensive measure. If he's from Krypton and Krypton has a red sun, which it does, that might just be normal lighting to him.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty true. But
And
that would
and
also
in relation sorry, in relation to what you were just saying about how he gets giddy when he learns something new, imagine his face when he kidnaps Clark to dissect him to figure out why his physiology is so different, only to find that under red sun radiation it returns to normal, or what Brainiac would consider normal.
yeah, no, he would get that. The thing would be downright ecstatic.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining, like, okay, Clark breaks out of that. Honestly, he would have to use a lot more of his wits than like his strength and muscles and stuff.
Right,
Which I think
because
is
yeah,
interesting.
he's nerfed because
Yeah,
red sun.
I just like the idea. Like, again, just because Brainiac can't really understand that he's being horrifying right now.
Yeah.
That he's just trying to calmly or even like be peppy to Clark and just say like, trying to like talk him down and like get him back on the table so they can find out more, learn more, and like Brainiac's even offering to like teach him all about Krypton, everything he should know about his people, like the history and everything.
And Clark, of course, being a very simple, very straightforward guy, simply goes, "I don't want to die for your need to collect data, Brainiac." Which
And I'm
I just
thinking
imagine
about
Brainiac. I just imagine Brainiac blinking like, "Oh, I didn't really consider that."
I was thinking of another line that could kind of play into the similar tone of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Same blinking, but you are the 15 million 5,600 5,776,653rd person to say that to me.
That's hilarious.
Also
Like
down
it's simultaneously like existentially like Lovecraftianly horrifying because Brainiac doesn't get the self-preservation impulse, but also it's hilarious because instead of actually internalizing the information contained in the phrase "I don't want to die for your data," he just goes, "Huh, that's weird. Everyone always says that. I don't know why."
I really want to see this. I want to see this hypothetical movie because that actually sounds like. It sounds super interesting. But yeah, I'm just picturing like Clark having to use his wits and hell even like steal gadgets and weaponry from things Brainiac has taken either as trophies or just like things to examine in his lab.
I have an idea for an interesting way this could resolve, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily in character or not.
Go ahead.
Because based on what we were just talking about with the whole Brainiac doesn't really understand the self-preservation impulse, Clark could offer to teach Brainiac why so many creatures have a self-preservation impulse, and Brainiac could agree to it, and that could give Clark an opening to destroy the ship. Because by teaching Brainiac what mortality is, he could teach him why living creatures have a self-preservation impulse. And this could also backfire on Clark later, because now that Brainiac has a self-preservation impulse, he understands the concept of revenge and punishing people who do you wrong.
Yeah, no, it actually seems like the most logical thing given what we were just discussing.
Yeah.
And I don't think.
Because Brainiac is curious why living creatures have a self-preservation instinct. Clark makes the offer, "I will show you why creatures have a self-preservation instinct." Brainiac jumps at the chance to gain new knowledge, turns off the red sun radiation. Clark destroys the ship, and as like Brainiac is malfunctioning because the ship is being destroyed, Brainiac could say something like, "What are you doing?" And Clark could say, and Clark could say something to the effect of, "Now you know why people don't want to die," or something to that effect. I don't, or maybe just, I'm giving you exactly what you asked for, the knowledge of why living creatures have a self-preservation instinct. And then of course he tries to break like the central mainframe Brainiac, but of course he survives because that's what Brainiac do. He probably downloads his consciousness into a shuttle and then escape pods out and stuff, but we won't find that out until the next movie or whenever Brainiac shows up again.
Mhm. Yeah, and to actually, okay, to lean into the idea, because I remember I said like he was only able to leap tall buildings in a single bound for most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Since the ship would be in space, right, and it's being destroyed in space, Clark is
Yeah.
basically hurtling towards Earth, burning up in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And
that's how he learns how to fly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really wish this was the movie, actually.
This is what we do every Thursday, folks. Like this sort of shit. He comes up with an idea. I listen to his idea. I notice like 2 connections or 3 connections that he either didn't see or wasn't focusing on, and I point out, hey, if we connect this thing and this thing and this thing, organic story. And then usually we end up feeding off of each other, bouncing ideas back and forth until we've created a whole ass new universe.
I'm going to be fully honest though, costume wise, well, I don't mind the one we got. My ideal kind of costume would actually resemble very similarly to the Fleischer costume,
Mm-hmm.
but more of like a knit. They're actually. I'm okay. Hold on. Let me. I'll look up the photo real quick. So I can. And then we'll move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Okay.
we still have a bunch of articles to get on to.
I don't know. Do you want to do the video games one next week? Because it is. I'm looking at it. It is kind of long.
Yeah, we can skip right to the gargoyles ones,
Okay.
and then of course the predator stuff that you wanted to cover.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I don't know why I'm yawning. I didn't really wake up until like 5 today.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Because you know me well enough by now to know that my sleep schedule is fucked.
Okay. Okay. Last image I'll show relating to our Superman pitch here. This is what I would kind of like the costume to look like.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like the stitching and stuff. Again, honestly, you would have to do more like the classic cloth kind of costumes, which seems to be kind of a big no-no. Which also would mean like the actor would have to put a little more effort into bulking up and stuff. I get that, but
yeah. Honestly, though, I'd go a similar route with my ideal universe. You know, the Golden Age one.
mhm.
But I would actually have Clark be inspired by Circus Strongmen in
Oh,
my Golden
yeah,
Age set version.
yeah, you've said this before.
Yeah, because
Also, I don't know why, but
it's such a vast well of inspiration, and it actually relates to the core inspirations for the character, and they don't fucking use it. It flummoxes me.
I also don't know why. I think I just love the S shield with the black instead of the yellow. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I don't really have a preference either way. I might slightly lean towards the yellow, but I don't like it. It's a small choice, so it wouldn't make
I
that
don't
much
know.
of a
Like to me,
difference.
it just seems to pop more with the black to me.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Anyway, on to the trepidations of the live action gargoyles thing.
God, what do we do? Like spend like a half hour on that?
We did. Like I just told the audience, this is the kind of shit we do for like 3 or 4 hours in one sitting on Thursdays.
Right. Okay, so this is from comicbook.com, written by Cameron Bonomolo. Disney's live-action Gargoyles reboot gets long-awaited update exclusive. Okay. Until Dalton sent this to me, I had no fucking idea this was happening.
I had no idea it was happening until I saw multiple sites reporting on it, because the first time I saw it, I thought, "Wait, is this one of those annoying parody articles?" But no, apparently live action gargoyles is potentially going to be a thing. And I hold my breath in trepidation, because this could go very, very badly if they don't do it right. And I love the gargoyles so freaking much.
If you're a subheader, if you're a fan of the show, you'll be very happy with how I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. That might be a quote from the creator of the live action reboot.
I mean, that is a good thing. Please keep true to it, please.
Okay, the Gargoyles are awakening at Disney Plus. In 2023, it was reported that the streamer was developing a live-action reboot of the 90s animated series about the Manhattan clan of gargoyles. Mighty Goliath, voiced by Keith David, Wizened Hudson, Ed Eisner, Teki Lexington, hold on, Tom Adcox Hernandez, Wise Guy Brooklyn, Jeff Bennett, Bulky Broadway, Bill Fagerbeck, I believe, and the dog-like beast Bronx, played by Frank Welker, and later Goliath's daughter Angela Brigitte Bacco, or that might be Bridget. No, Brigitte, actually, Brigitte Bacco, who were frozen in stone by a magic spell for 1,000 years. In modern-day Manhattan, they live again as stone by day, warriors by night, defending New York City with their human ally, NYPD Detective Eliza Maza, played by Sally Richardson. Why David Xanatos was not mentioned here is a travesty.
Yeah, because he's basically, what if Lex Luthor was also Iron Man?
Right. According to Gary Duberman, the writer, executive producer, and showrunner of the live-action Gargoyles reboot, Disney is still chiseling away at getting the series off the ground. The fact that it's taking a while and not being rushed is actually...
Yeah, that makes me slightly more optimistic. Take your fucking time, y'all.
Okay, I'm gonna look up Gary Duberman, just so we
know who we're working with here.
Yeah.
Please don't massacre my boy here, please.
Okay, Gary Duberman. Okay. He's working on a lot of Blumhouse stuff.
That's not terrible.
Annabelle movies, like the trilogy. Nun. Curse of La Llorona. Oh, I didn't.
Okay, so he has like a horror background, and like an explicitly supernatural horror background. That's not bad for gargoyles.
He did 2024 Salem's Lot. That means anything.
I mean, it was okay. I have a soft spot for the original version, but it was okay. But yeah, this does. Plus, for whatever reason, horror directors usually are very good at moving between genres.
Oh, he wrote It. 2027. No, 2017. Sorry.
I was gonna say, unless he's time traveled back from the future, that would be very confusing.
Oh, actually, he developed Swamp Thing, the TV series.
Okay, I am officially in the category of cautiously optimistic here.
Okay, now
like I say,
so he's actually
horror directors are very good at transplanting genres, and he already seems to have a background that would at least lend itself to gargoyles well.
Yeah, he's been mostly a writer. He directed Salem's Lot and Annabelle Comes Home. So
he has experience, and like I say, the the virtue of horror directors being able to transplant genres really well is good.
All right. According to Gary, all right. I feel like we have the animated series already. Cartoon is so good. Doberman tells a comic book in an interview pegged to the Until Dawn movie. It's so good that we fell in love with. That's what we fell in love with. I think it lends itself to a really cool live action version.
Okay, you're saying all the right things so far, sir. You are making me cautiously optimistic. Please do not take it away from me, or I will fucking hunt you down and rip out your entrails.
Right. Apparently the Gargoyles will meet the Fantastic Four in a official comic crossover.
That honestly worries me more than the live action version.
Really?
Yeah, because that would mean that the Gargoyles either there's going to be interdimensional shenanigans, or it would mean the Gargoyles exist in the Marvel universe. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because as I remember it, there are several beings among Oberon's children who were worshipped as gods by various different cultures. Specifically, I'm thinking of Odin and Anubis, and of course, Odin is already spoken for in Thor. So how in the fuck are they going to make that work?
So I'll be honest. I think I'm under the impression that the Fantastic Four will come to the Gargoyles rather than the Gargoyles going to there.
That would make more sense, considering that Reed is always fucking around with the multiverse to his detriment anyway.
Anyway, adapting Gargoyles for live action will be challenging, but Doberman says they are talking to some great people. We are still keeping that darkness to it. I'm excited to see the animated series come to life. Gargoyles aired 78 episodes over 3 seasons between 1994 and 1997, with an 11-issue Marvel Comics series taking flight in 1995.
In the Gargoyles fandom, however, we don't talk about the third season, because they basically pulled the equivalent of a Ben 10 Omniverse on it in season 3. We don't talk about the third season. Most Gargoyles fans think of the Gathering two-parter as the series finale.
The story of the Manhattan Clan continued as recently as 2022 in a new Dynamite comic series penned by the TV show's co-creator and producer Greg Weisman. But Doberman can't get into specifics about whether the live-action version is adapting any particular story. I think Disney would kill me. I am such a fan of the show, and there is so much good in it, says Doberman, a screenwriter who has adapted the works of author Stephen King, the It Films in 2024 Salem Lot remake, and PlayStation's Until Dawn video game into a feature film.
Okay, again, he's saying all the right things and believing apparently all the right things. So I remain cautiously optimistic. Please do not let me down.
Whether it's adapting Stephen King, a horror video game, or an animated series such as Gargoyles, Doberman says in one, you have to invent stuff whole cloth, and the other you don't. I will say that if you are a fan of the show, you'll be very happy with how I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel with that one.
Again, this is the correct sentiment. Well done, sir. I am cautiously optimistic.
Right.
Which means I will hold you to it if you F around here.
Yeah.
I shall become the incarnate of you finding out if you fuck around with this.
Alright. Disney branded television is developing Gargoyles with Atomic Monsters. James Wan and Michael Clear, producers of the Swamp Thing series, adapted for television by Doberman and Michael Verheiden in 2019. Doberman's screenwriting credits include the hit Conjuring spin-offs, Annabelle and the Nun, and most recently he co-wrote and produced Sony's Until Dawn movie.
All of this is a good sign. All of it. Please let this be as good as it has the potential to be. And yes, we probably will have to review it if and when it comes out. But honestly, let them take 2 or 3 more years before its time. I don't want them to rush it.
I think the thing I'm worried most about is the budget of it.
Because, yeah, in Gargoyles universe, it's very much the sort of high-tech, what the 90s thought future tech was going to look like in, like, the Rob Liefeld sense. So, managing that, plus the
Actually,
gargoyles themselves, plus all the sorcery and magic and shit, and of course the Fae when the Fae show up.
I'm just I'm thinking logically, right, on how they would cut costs, because they try to. Producers would, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking not so much that they would tone down the fantastical like Netflix Marvel shows kind of did,
Ugh.
but more so add something that technically doesn't make sense and would kind of defeat a lot of things, like having the gargoyles turn human. Like, could just shift from gargoyles to human is what I mean.
So that the actors don't need to be CGI'd. I mean, for pragmatic reasons, I can see the logic there. I still don't want them to do it.
Well, either
But
CGI or have them in like costumes.
Honestly, I hope they do the gargoyles practically, because it'd actually be much cheaper to do the gargoyles practically than it would to CG them. And we
Like,
need to save the CG budget for the fairies.
well, I was also thinking like the flying scenes and stuff like that. Oh my god, they're gonna have to build a set of the Xanatos Tower with the. I mean, they could do a miniature of that, but I'm talking like the actual set for the actors to.
Yeah, the actual building, yes, and yeah, it's going to be extremely hard to do well. I hope they manage it. I really, really do, and I hope they don't cut corners. Or I especially hope they don't leave out the Fae, because if they leave out the Fae, I am going to
Well,
burn some things to the ground.
okay, let's just assume they're adapting the first season. Did the Fae really show up too much in the first season?
No, the Fae don't show up in until season 2, the season 2 episode titled "The Mirror," where we first get introduced to Puck.
Also, I am kind of curious about who they would cast, simply because like some of the characters would be a little hard to get like prominent would get actors for, like David Xanatos, because the actor has to really balance the villainous with the smarmy with the charisma.
I mean, this is one of those good things about how awesome Gargoyles was to begin with. In a lot of cases, you probably could get the original voice actors to do it in live action.
No, I
Because a
am
lot
aware of that, but they are somewhat, old, unfortunately.
true, but assuming you really only need the first 2 seasons and whatever fix Greg Weisman has for season 3, because even he doesn't like season 3, and it doesn't follow his vision according to him. But yeah, if assuming you only need the 2 seasons, and then whatever Greg Weisman wants to do with season 3 instead of what they actually did with season 3, which is crap. I think you're not in danger of them like dying or keeling over before the show has wrapped. So, granted, I am knocking on wood because fuck me, that would be terrible. But it also, speaking of the voice actors playing in live action, Xanatos looks a lot like Jonathan Frakes actually looks. So having him come back as Xanatos would be cool. And a lot of the Fae you could do voice acting for, and not only did Brett Spiner love playing Puck in Gargoyles, he actually played Puck again in the Librarians episode where Puck showed up that one time.
Anyway, shall we?
Yep. Moving on.
So it's another Gargoyles. So live action Gargoyles reboots. Dark Tone gets hopeful response from writer. It's from ScreenRant.com. written by Nathan Graham Lowry, published, 4 days ago. All right. Writer Gary Doberman promises the Gargoyles reboot will live up to the tone to help define the original animated show. The 1990 series focused on a group of creatures who are transported from their home in Scotland to the streets of New York City when petrified as Stone State, leading to them taking on the roles of the city's protectors. Doberman was confirmed to be helming a live-action Gargoyles reboot in 2023, with James Wan set to serve as producer.
That also makes me optimistic because James Wan transitioned to comic books really, really well with Aquaman. So, like I say, there is a lot of things to be cautiously optimistic about here. I just hope they manage to pull it off.
As Doberman opened up to Variety about his work on Until Dawn, the writer also discussed the upcoming live-action reboot of Gargoyles, acknowledging the distinct dark tone of the original series. Doberman promised that Doberman promised that they are aiming to replicate what made the show stand out for a new generation. Okay. Oh yes, another beloved piece of IP. This new iteration of Gargoyles, the show was already pretty dark in that it was serialized. It was a mature thing. It's operatic, and the story was so epic. I'm hoping it's very similar to the vibe that you got when you were watching it back in the late 90s. I just love that half-hour television falling into their world. I'm hoping we achieve that. It's a lot of fun, though. It's a thrill.
He's talking like a fan, which is good. Again, I agree with you. I think the biggest hurdle is going to be how much money is Disney willing to blow on this? And how efficiently can they actually make use of said money? Granted, James Wan and Doberman here come from the Blumhouse background, and Blumhouse is very good at being efficient with their costs. It's not going to be like Netflix version of Sandman where they blow a bunch of money on shit that doesn't even make it to screen. Or at least I hope not. That being said, Disney has basically ruined their streaming content for the most part by disappointing so many people with so much of it. So how much money are they actually willing to put into live action Gargoyles? Because they need to put in quite a fuck ton in order to make this work, even if Wan and Doberman are good at being efficient with their costs. It's still going to take a fuck ton just to make something approximating the original Gargoyles. Yeah, sorry. I was gonna add the only thing that I would realistically be okay if they cut is the Avalon World Tour. Like, keep the beginning of the Avalon arc and the end of the Avalon arc, but cut out some of the filler in the middle there. That would at least keep costs down. That way you can keep the CGI budget for the Fae that actually make a meaningful contribution to the plot, like Puck and Titania and Oberon and so on. Moving on.
What Doberman's Gargoyles reboot. The series could stand out in the landscape. While it has been 28 years since the series concluded, there have been many attempts to reawaken the Gargoyles franchise on screen. An animated movie adaptation with the script penned by G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobras, David Elliott, and Paul Lovett, and a pitch from Jordan Peele. As such, a variety of approaches to the original lore have likely developed over the years. However, Doberman's response does reveal several things.
I'm so glad we didn't get the Jordan Peele version, because he would have made the gargoyle race allegory so over the top and so forced and ham-fisted that it would have been terrible.
Rather than attempting to match contemporary franchises, the showrunner's response does suggest that the series is more keen on being faithful than creating something more in tune with modern television standards. This is not necessarily a bad move, as it could allow the new Gargoyles to stand out from other streaming shows in an era where audiences are becoming more critical of current standards. Of course, without an episode count, it's unclear whether the Gargoyles reboot can match the original series' scope.
Please, for the love of all that is holy, at least 20 episodes per season. Please. Please. Because if they do the calling a mini series a full series thing, it's just gonna break my heart. So go back from whence you came to the 20 episode series minimum. God damn it!
All right. Our take on the Gargoyles reboot tease: the series has many experienced creatives on board. It may be early days for the development of Disney Plus Gargoyles reimagining, but Doberman's response shows a clear understanding of what helped the original series stand out. Juan's horror background and involvement in action franchises, including the Fast and Furious and Aquaman series, already showed that the reboot had the capacity to blend multiple genres from supernatural to action. As such, it is a relief to see that both creatives' visions will likely align to make the best Gargoyles live-action adaptation possible.
Yeah, they have really good credentials with regards to this. I wonder how much money Disney is going to let them use. Because frankly, take whatever budget James Cameron was going to blow on Avatar 5 and give it to these guys instead. That is a story worth telling. Granted, a lot of money probably can be saved by doing a lot of stuff practically instead of using CGI, which I'm also in favor of because practical effects tend to age better than digital ones. But some things are going to have to be CG'd for the sake of intrigue and accuracy. You can't really do Puck, Tanya, or Oberon with practical, or at least you'd have to blend practical with CG at that point. Oh wait, the Weird Sisters too. You'd have to use the Weird Sisters because they play actual meaningful role in the plot. Anyway, next thing. I'm feeling much better about this now than I was before we read those, which does not happen often. But I'm feeling much better about this now that we've read those. I hope I'm not wrong to be optimistic.
Right, okay. So I was setting up the thing. So yeah, I decided that we were going to cover Predator stuff because the teaser trailer for Predator Badlands came out not too long ago. I think it was in this week.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, roughly. Well, it's actually been 2 weeks. Just came out last week, actually. But yeah, the teaser trailer for Predator Badlands came out.
Are there any Predator-specific foods, or shall we just go with banana?
I think banana. I can't really do anything.
Banana.
Banana.
I didn't think you survived.
I feel like you got nothing to say.
Nope. Banana.
Well, I did want to point out I like the look of everything. One thing that's set in the far future, and it's on an alien world.
Mm.
And I'm gonna be fully honest, I am getting like a big, just an epicness to it, which feels operatic in a way.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we?
Banana.
Banana. Made by the director of Prey.
Which Prey wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good as far as modern IP goes.
I like the chanting and stuff because it works for the predators like overall.
The like red mist stuff is cool as well.
Yeah, it's like deadly. I think it's just because like they're on the alien planet, it's like super, like everything can basically kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this elder predator here is badass as shit. Because for one thing, the predators, the Yautja, their actual name, are live for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one from Predator 2 has like a scar on him, like on his face, who gives Danny Glover's character a flintlock pistol that was wielded by a pirate during the golden age of piracy.
Mm.
So
that's at least like 300-400 years old then.
Yeah, because that movie was set like in the early 90s, I believe.
Yeah.
Predator 2. So gifted it to him after Danny Glover's character. No, is it Donald Glover or Danny Glover? He played Murray.
I think it's Donald, but I might be wrong.
No, Donald's Childish Gambino.
Ah, okay, so it is Danny Glover then.
Yeah, okay. It's just and that Predator didn't really have. Well, I think he was an elder. I don't think he was. He didn't look as old.
He wasn't old enough to be on like the High Council or anything.
I don't know well, we know a little bit of their culture and society, but not too much. Mm-hmm. This guy has white dreadlocks.
So yeah, he's if like 300-400 years is a relatively normal like middle age time span for them, then an elderly one could very well be, measuring their age in the 1,000 range.
He also looks pretty badass. I mean, like if he's an elder.
Well, it's also much like the Viltrumites. Speaking of long-lived warrior races, in order to survive that long in Yautja society, you kind of have to be a badass bitch. And
well, actually, they're not like they hunt, but have like codes of honor, and also they don't really kill each other.
Right, but still, their entire society is based on hunting the most dangerous, most absurd thing they can find.
Yeah, it's true.
And if you've made it to old age as a Yautja, bearing in mind that, like we say, it's probably somewhere in like the 1,000, maybe even 2,000 year range, that means you have survived a lot of fucking hunts. Not to mention whatever warrior politics, kind of like the Klingons, the Yautja might have when dealing with each other and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, director of Prey. I've not seen like the whole of Prey, but I have gotten good vibes from it.
It's a pretty good use of the IP. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a pretty interesting use of the IP. So, cautious optimism? Question mark? I guess. Granted, I liked the Predator movie that a lot of people didn't like. The one where it's revealed that Yautja basically have weaponized autism, literally. Because the one autistic kid ends up using the Predator tech and excelling at it really well.
That one. Okay.
Yeah. I actually like that one. So I grant you that my opinion on the Predator franchise probably doesn't matter much because a lot of people really hate that one for some reason.
To be fair, I like one that's also not well liked, but I think has kind of come around. Like people have come around to it. 2010 Predators by Robert Rodriguez.
Right. I mean, I guess Robert Rodriguez is what people could refer to as a acquired taste for some people. He swings for the fences no matter what he does. So
yeah. To be fair, it's actually a pretty standard. That's not a bad blockbuster. So.
Anyway, shall we banana?
Yeah.
You're hunting something that can't be killed.
Oh, right. Okay, I forgot to mention the, well, I didn't forget to mention, I just didn't want to bring it up, like, spoil it. The protagonist is a predator. It's a young predator who was, I believe, exiled from his clan. And is looking
because
for redemption.
Yeah, because he was essentially the runt of his litter.
I believe so.
I've heard a lot of negative things about his design, though.
It's the teaser trailer, so it could just be early visual effects, but overall it doesn't look too bad. I think it's the issue they have is like his dreadlocks are tied up.
I've heard a lot of people saying that his facial features are too smooth and human-like to be a member of the Yautja race.
I could see the argument, but also I think that's a bit...
I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it. I'm just saying that's the scuttlebutt that I've heard from a lot of people.
Honestly, I think a lot of people are just... honestly, from this, I think it looks like a pretty good movie coming out. I think just sometimes people... Again, it's that thing of like, people got so used to seeing shit that when you see something that's...
Yeah, you're worried that, oh, here we go, another IP about to get vandalized again.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it looks good. It looks like a genuinely interesting premise because the girl is a synthoid, like the robots from the Alien franchise. So they are connecting them again, which is good.
Which, I don't think you can really realistically deselect them because the Alien versus Predator movie is pretty solidly.
Well, to be fair, this is set like centuries into the future. Like it's from the robot is from the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, which means it's relatively close to like the Alien, like time wise, it could be relatively close to the Alien movies, or
either that or this robot has been incredibly well looked after over the last few centuries or something. Which, I mean, the Predators do love to be very like precise about their equipment, so I can see.
An earlier scene showed that she was strung up. So I don't know.
Anyway, banana.
It has 11 seconds left, but yeah. Looks like I'm going to be watching this on my birthday.
Neat.
Well, it comes out the 7th of November, but I usually like to wait a week after a movie comes out.
I don't blame you. Crowded theaters are annoying. That's funny. Fantastic Four actually comes out on my birthday this year, the 25th of July.
I'd say lucky you, but knowing you, you wouldn't be able to go see it that day.
Well, No, not necessarily. And frankly, if I was going to go see a movie on my birthday, I don't think I would waste it on Fantastic Four. I think I'd see Sinners again because Sinners is awesome.
Yeah, I still need to watch that.
If you like the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, you'll probably like Sinners a lot.
I do, and I love the series that was based off it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you like those, then you'll probably love Sinners. I cannot wait for you to come home from seeing Sinners and then go, okay, we need to do a version of this in the Lionhearted. I am calling it now. It will happen.
Okay. Anyway, okay. Still being on Predator stuff. This was from a thing I had saw, and I've been trying to get us to watch it for a while now, since I saw the trailer. But there's a lot of other stuff to cover, and also Dawn kind of shot me down a few times.
There was more pressing bullshit to get onto. But anyway.
Even for the positive shit.
Yes. Anyway, moving along with the banana.
Alright. So this Predator Killer of Killers, it's like an animated anthology series going through Earth's histories, like Earth's history encounters with predators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, banana.
Banana.
For centuries, they have hunted. Banana?
Banana.
The deadliest warriors. This is also from the director of Prey. This guy's busy.
Uh-huh. And he's doubling down on the Predator franchise.
Yeah. You know, I remember a lot of people saying that they should go, instead of keeping to like modern day or whatever, they should be going back in time to predators hunting humans, where humans had to rely more on their wits than the weapons as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is what they kind of did with Prey, because it was the Native American girl that did him in that one.
So far I've seen Vikings, I've seen Japan, like ninjas and samurai and shit. I did see World War II, like aerial battle, which would be super interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes me wonder, do you think a predator would have been in World War One, like in the trenches hunting? Which actually would kind of be interesting.
That's a good question. My gut says no, just because I don't think there'd be a very interesting angle if the Predator was involved in World War One. I'm curious if we're gonna get a callback to Predator 2 where we get to see pirate versus predator and get to know where that flintlock came from.
There was a comic actually that explained that, and it's a lot more interesting than you think, because so kind of the background of that, just so because I don't know if you knew, obviously you didn't know. So the predator, like the Scar, let's call him Scar because he has a scar on his face, was tracking down these pirates, like this pirate crew with their captain, who was one that caught his attention, right? Who had the flintlock. And the captain, who was somewhat of an honorable pirate, refused to take refused to plunder a church, and his men did not like that, so they had planned a mutiny and were going to ambush the man and kill him. The Predator, who was an honor-bound warrior, did not like that, so jumped to the man's defense, and
That's neat.
both fought side by side, dueling together, slaying all of the captain's would-be mutineers.
That's kind of awesome.
Wordlessly.
Now I actually hope there will be an adaptation of this in the show, because goddamn it.
Hold on, it gets better. One of the cowardly men that were trying to kill the captain got lucky and popped a shot off and hit him in his heart. Predator kills that man, and before the captain dies, he hands the Predator his flintlock and says, "Keep it," as a sign of respect. And the Predator not only gives this man a proper warrior's grave, but also exchanges a weapon of his own sword, to the man before he buries him, and repeats, actually, "Keep it."
That's kind of awesome. I want an adaptation of that in this series now.
Anyway, shall we?
Banana.
You are old enough now. It's time I tell you about the monster.
It just seems like I wonder if there are going to be more episodes, because they're really just showing like a specific set here.
Well, that is, as always, the $1,000,000 question. What is the episode count like for this?
Well, to be fair, this is also a first look, so.
True, but as ever, the $1,000,000 question: how many episodes?
Banana.
We must kill it, or it will kill us all.
Oh, it's interesting that they're not just following one predator throughout the history of Earth in these battles. There are obviously like multiple different predators.
Yep.
And their designs are actually pretty cool, because I think there was like a berserker one from like for the Vikings to fight. Like it was a lot bigger, and tougher looking.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. All right.
Banana.
A harpoon parachute.
Cool.
I like also they're not shying away from blood. Granted, the first Predator movie didn't really have a lot of blood. Well, they sparingly used it for like the blood and gore. But I mean, these are alien warriors that basically do a fight to the death with their quarry. So blood and viscera and gore are kind of just staple.
Inevitable at some point, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Banana.
That comes out in June.
Okay.
Predator, Killer, Killers.
With a title like that, I wonder if they're gonna frame all the people that the Predator kills as the bad guys.
Uh,
Because if he if it's a killer of killers, then maybe
well,
this particular set of predators winds up killing a bunch of serial killers and stuff or something
no,
like that.
no, that's not. I think what they mean is like, the world, like, world's deadliest warriors are often the ones that kill a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I think that's what they mean. Not sure.
Honestly, though, I wouldn't mind seeing a version of the Predator that was basically pulling a Dexter because honor code.
I have recently I actually saw someone do a pitch of a predator facing a Buddhist monk or like a Shaolin monk,
That would be interesting.
because, and the guy was actually like really convincing because actually made the pitch that the predator could learn hand to hand, and we've never really seen a predator go full on like hand to hand fighting.
Although I'm sure the Yautja do have some form of martial arts because they are a warrior culture, kind of like the Klingons in Star Trek. So they probably do have like their own forms of martial arts, which would be interesting.
That's fair. I'm just again, I'm just
I just in comparison to the pirate episode that you just explained there, imagine a story where the predator tries to or initially wants to kill the Shaolin monk, but realizes that they're honorable, and so instead of killing him, they trade martial arts techniques. Like the predator shows him how to do the Yautja martial arts, and the Shaolin monk teaches him how to do the Shaolin kung fu,
Yeah.
etc.
Actually, there was a scene like opening wise that they pitched their story of that the predator was tracking down a group of bandits that seemed possibly great warriors, even though they were very dishonorable and just cowardice and just murderers.
So essentially, the predator gets dropped into the middle of Blood Meridian. Lol.
Well, in East Asia, but effectively.
Oh.
But the Shaolin monk arrives and beats up all the bandits. And what shocks Predator most, like before that, with the Shaolin monk, is that the dude is actually looking at him in the trees while he's invisible and keeps his eyes as the predator jumps from one branch to the next.
That's neat.
Well, to be fair, I think Shaolin monks are trained to notice things, right?
Right. It does make sense within the mythos. I'm just saying. Although now that I mentioned Predator dropped in the middle of Blood Meridian, I want to see him. I want to see Predator versus Outlaws because that would be cool.
Plus, yeah, like the American, like the era of the Wild West and like the untamed frontier of the Midwest
would be a really interesting place to stick a Predator in. Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the time it's vast flatlands.
Yeah, deserts.
Some canyons or ridges that people can go through, but that's very like limited.
Yeah, it's a very wide open place, and it doesn't leave much room to like hide or be stealthy in.
So honestly, it would be more him like tracking than anything. It would be like him hiding or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You'd almost play it like bounty hunter wise.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, because predators are all about honor, and the lack of honor offends them. So imagine him like tracking them down, kind of like what they did with what was the Doctor Who episode, One Night at Mercy, with the cyborg super soldier that got experimented on, kind of like that. Anyway, outdoor time.
With that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Shalom and fuck off so we can both get some sleep because goddamn it, we're both yawning ridiculously.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Guys.